You run your fingers through your hair, and it feels different than it used to. Thinner, flatter, harder to manage. You pause for a moment and wonder, is this just what happens after 50? Am I supposed to accept it, or is there something I can do? Have you ever stood in front of the mirror and felt like the person looking back seemed a little less like the woman you once knew? If you have, please know you are not alone. So many women whisper the same quiet worry. They say, my hair has lost its body, my part looks wider, and no matter how I style it, the fullness never lasts. Does that sound familiar? It can be frustrating, even discouraging. But here is the truth. Thinning hair is not the end of beauty, and it is certainly not the end of confidence. It is simply a new chapter, one that deserves a different approach. And today, I want to show you exactly how. Welcome to Golden Elder Days, where beauty grows deeper with time and wisdom walks hand in hand with style. This is our space, where we talk about real changes, real solutions, and real inspiration for women who know that elegance only grows richer with age. In today's video, we are going to explore 6 simple steps that will help you stop the styling mistakes that make thin hair look even thinner. What if your daily routine could shift just a little and suddenly give you more lift, more volume, and more confidence? Would you try it if it only took a few minutes each morning? I believe you would, because you deserve to feel that spark again. And here is something exciting. If you stay with me until the end, I will share a bonus tip. It is quick, less than 30 seconds, and it has the power to make your hair look instantly fuller. Imagine the smile on your face when you see that change in the mirror. Before we dive in, I would love to hear from you. How old are you? Where are you watching from? And what has your hair journey been like? Or, if you prefer, just type the number 1 in the comments so I know you are here with us. And while you are there, please like this video, subscribe to Golden Elder Days, and turn on notifications so you never miss another moment of beauty and encouragement made just for you. Now, let us begin. Step 1. Master the root lift. Have you ever wondered why thin hair always seems to fall flat, no matter what you do? You tease it, you spray it, you fluff it with your fingers, and within an hour it looks as though nothing ever happened. The reason is not that your hair has stopped listening to you. It is actually about density, gravity, and how hair fibers interact with one another. When hair is naturally thicker, strands support and push against each other, creating that lifted look we associate with volume. But when hair becomes finer with age, there are simply fewer strands to hold each other up. Gravity does the rest, pulling everything downward until it rests close to the scalp. So, what can you do when nature seems to be working against you? The answer is to give your roots a little extra help. Think of it as setting the foundation for every style that follows. Without a strong root lift, even the most polished cut or the most expensive products will not deliver the results you want. The simplest place to start is with the blow-dry. Instead of standing in front of the mirror, brush in hand, waiting for your hair to dry as it usually does, flip your head upside down. Yes, it may look a little funny, and yes, you may feel a touch silly the first time you try it, but the results speak for themselves. When you blow-dry upside down, you are essentially fighting gravity with gravity. Each strand is encouraged to move away from the scalp instead of collapsing onto it. As you dry, slip your fingers gently into the roots and move them back and forth, coaxing lift right where it matters most. Now let us add one more layer of support. Before you begin drying, apply a lightweight mousse or volumizing spray at the crown and along the roots. Why lightweight? Because heavier products will weigh your hair down and undo the very effect you are trying to create. A soft, airy mousse gives structure without stiffness, letting your hair move naturally while still holding its shape. I want to share a story. Not long ago, I spoke with Diane, a retired nurse in her early 60s, who told me she had given up on styling her hair altogether. She said, "I wash it, I comb it, and within minutes it just falls flat. What is the point?" I encouraged her to try this upside-down method with mousse at the roots. Nothing complicated, just a small change in routine. A week later, she wrote to me with a picture. The difference was remarkable. Her hair looked lifted, fuller, and more youthful. But more than that, her smile was brighter. She told me, "I feel like myself again. I walked into church and people asked if I had gotten a haircut, but all I did was blow dry differently." Isn't it amazing how such a small adjustment can create such a big shift, not just in appearance, but in the way we carry ourselves? Diane said she felt lighter on her feet, more inclined to stand tall, and even laughed that she no longer avoided mirrors at the grocery store, all from mastering the root lift. If you are thinking, "That sounds too simple to work," I encourage you to try it for yourself. Take a morning this week, wash your hair as you usually do, then flip your head, apply mousse, and dry from the roots. Notice not only how your hair looks, but how you feel as you move through the day. Does your reflection surprise you? Do you find yourself touching your hair less because it holds its shape? These small details matter because confidence grows through rituals we can rely on. Think of the root lift as your daily reset button. It does not require fancy tools, it does not take hours, and it does not demand perfection. What it does is set the stage for everything else. With volume at the crown, your face looks more open, your features stand out, and your style feels intentional rather than accidental. And isn't that what we all want? To feel like our reflection matches the woman we know inside? So begin here. Start each day by giving your roots the gift of lift. It is not vanity. It is an act of self-respect, a reminder that even the smallest gestures can awaken the spark of beauty we carry within us. Step 2. Choose the right cut. One of the most common myths about thin hair is that it must always be short. How many times have you heard someone say, "If your hair is thinning, just cut it off"? It sounds simple, but does it really solve the problem? The truth is, length is not the enemy. The real secret lies in the shape, the balance, and the way a haircut frames your face. Hair, even when fine, can be coaxed into styles that look full and vibrant if the cut is thoughtfully chosen. Think of a blunt cut that ends in a single heavy line. On thick hair, it might look sleek and strong. On thin hair, however, it often does the opposite. It draws the eye straight to the lack of density at the ends, creating a flat, lifeless look. So, what is the alternative? Layers. Not the choppy, overdone kind that leave strands looking ragged, but soft, face-framing layers that create movement and give the illusion of fullness. When hair has different lengths working together, it tricks the eye. It whispers volume instead of shouting flatness. Let me tell you about Joan, a woman I met at a community gathering. She had always worn her hair shoulder length, blunt at the ends, because her stylist told her it would make her hair appear thicker. Yet she confessed she felt invisible. She said, "Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw the hair of someone trying to hold on to something that was gone." Together, we talked about what she really wanted, not just in a haircut, but in how she wanted to feel walking into a room. She wanted presence. She wanted softness without losing strength. The next time she went to her stylist, Joan brought pictures, not of celebrities half her age, but of women in their 50s, 60s, even 70s, who carried themselves with elegance. She asked for layers around her face to brighten her features, and gentle shaping at the back so the hair could move naturally. When she walked out, her reflection no longer told the story of loss. It told the story of renewal. She later laughed with me, saying that friends asked if she had done something, but could not quite put their finger on what had changed. What had changed was not just her hair, but the way she carried herself. So how do you make sure your stylist understands what you need? First, use language that avoids extremes. Instead of asking for a lot of layers, ask for soft framing layers that create lift. Instead of saying, make it thicker, say, I want my hair to look fuller at the crown and around the face. Stylists respond well to clarity, and pictures help more than words. Collect a few images of women with similar age and face shape and bring them with you. These small steps can make the difference between walking out disappointed and walking out renewed. Here is another mistake to avoid. Do not assume that going shorter will automatically add volume. A pixie can be stunning if it suits your face shape, but if cut bluntly, it can lie flat against the scalp. Similarly, shoulder-length bobs can drag thin hair down unless they are softened with movement. The key is not the length itself, but the sculpting. Ask yourself, what story do I want my haircut to tell? Do you want it to say, I am hiding what I have lost? Or do you want it to say, I am embracing who I am with elegance and ease? The choice is always yours, and the right cut gives you the freedom to tell that story beautifully. In the end, choosing the right haircut is not about following a rulebook. It is about seeing yourself clearly, finding a shape that highlights your natural grace, and partnering with a stylist who listens. Thin hair does not need to be hidden behind shortcuts or heavy lines. It needs to be shaped, respected, and framed in a way that celebrates you. Step 3. Rethink your part. Have you ever noticed that the way you part your hair changes not only the way your face looks, but the way your whole presence feels? It might seem like such a small detail, but for women with thin hair, it can be a game changer. The science behind it is simple. Hair naturally thins over time, and one of the first places it shows is along the part line. That narrow strip of scalp, once filled with density, begins to widen. And when your part sits directly down the center, it often puts that thinning on full display. Now, why does a middle part accentuate thinning so much? Think of it like drawing a line on a piece of paper. The eye goes straight to it. When your part runs down the center, the contrast between hair and scalp creates a visual highlight, almost like a spotlight. On thick hair, this might not matter, but on fine or thinning hair, it exaggerates what you want to soften. So what can you do instead? A soft side part instantly shifts the eye away from the widest area. It adds lift at the roots and gives the illusion of more volume. Another clever trick is the zigzag part. By creating subtle changes in direction, you scatter the light and break up the view of the scalp. The result is fuller, more dynamic hair that feels playful rather than forced. And the best part? You can experiment with these styles at home tonight, without a single product or tool. Let me share Susan's story. Susan is 58, and for years she hid under wide-brimmed hats. She said it was easier than dealing with the self-consciousness of her thinning part. It felt like everyone could see right into my scalp, she told me. Then, one afternoon, while getting ready for a family dinner, she decided to try a side part, just a few inches off center. The change startled her. Her reflection looked softer, her face looked brighter, and for the first time in years, she went out without her hat. She later laughed as she shared how her granddaughter asked if she had gotten a new haircut. Nothing had changed but the placement of her part, yet it shifted everything about the way she carried herself. Here is where I want to pause and ask you, when was the last time you moved your part? Have you been wearing it in the same place for years? If so, why not tilt it slightly tonight, just to see? What do you have to lose? Sometimes the simplest adjustments hold the most power. When trying a new part, use your fingers instead of a rigid comb. This keeps the look organic and soft, rather than sharp and drawn. If you are experimenting with a zigzag, keep it gentle, almost like a whisper in your hair, not a heavy line. A part should never feel harsh. It should feel like an invitation for your hair to move and breathe. And here is another thought. Rethinking your part is not only about hiding thinness, it is also about highlighting your best features. A side part can draw attention to your cheekbones. A slightly off-center part can balance a longer face. Even a deep side part can bring drama and elegance, perfect for an evening out. Each variation tells a slightly different story, and you get to choose which one feels most like you today. Susan discovered that shifting her part was less about covering what she had lost, and more about reclaiming the confidence she thought was gone. That is what I wish for you as well. The courage to play, the freedom to explore, and the joy of realizing that beauty after 50 is not about rules, but about gentle adjustments that bring out your natural radiance. So tonight, when you stand in front of your mirror, I encourage you to try it. Move your part just a little. Try a side. Try a zigzag. See how it changes not just your hair, but the way you hold your head. You may be surprised at how something so small can create such a beautiful shift. Step 4. Add texture. Always. Let's be honest. When hair starts to thin, one of the biggest mistakes we make is reaching for the straightening iron or brushing it flat until every strand is smooth. We think tidy equals elegant, but in reality, flat, straight hair has a way of clinging close to the scalp, exposing its lack of density. It often makes hair appear thinner than it really is. So the very thing we believe looks polished can end up working against us. Why does texture change everything? Imagine a piece of art. A flat sketch can be beautiful, but the moment the artist adds shading and dimension, it suddenly comes alive. Texture in hair works the same way. It creates movement, volume, and light play, which tricks the eye into seeing fullness. Even the softest wave or subtle bend can lift your whole look from tired to vibrant. Now, the good news is that adding texture does not mean damaging your hair. Gone are the days when we had to rely on curling irons cranked up to scorching levels. There are gentler, smarter tools and methods that respect your hair while still giving you body. One of my favorites is the humble Velcro roller. Lightweight, inexpensive, and heat-free, they give lift and bounce without strain. A hot brush is another wonderful tool, offering controlled warmth while smoothing and curling at the same time. And for those who prefer no heat at all, braiding damp hair before bed and letting it out in the morning creates effortless waves that last all day. I know what you might be thinking, but won't texture make me look like I'm trying too hard? The truth is, it depends on how you wear it. Texture does not have to mean glamorous red carpet curls. It can be as simple as a soft wave at the ends or a gentle bend through the mid-lengths. Think of it more like adding depth to a painting rather than covering it in glitter. It is subtle, natural, and deeply flattering. Let me share a story. Linda, age 62, had worn her hair straight and flat for decades. She said it was her safety zone. But one morning before a reunion brunch, she tried Velcro rollers for the first time. When she unrolled them, she gasped. Her hair looked fuller, her face seemed brighter, and even her posture lifted. At brunch, 3 people asked if she had changed her haircut. She hadn't. It was simply texture doing its quiet magic. Have you noticed how textured hair catches the light? Straight strands reflect in one harsh line, but waves and bends scatter the light softly, creating the illusion of shine and volume. This is why textured hair not only looks fuller, but also looks healthier. Isn't it interesting how light alone can transform perception? Another gentle reminder. Texture is not only for special occasions, it can become part of your everyday routine. a few minutes with rollers in the morning while you sip coffee. A quick twist of the hot brush before you head out the door, or even braiding your hair before bed as part of your nighttime ritual. These small moments add up to a style that makes you feel like yourself again, only lifted and refreshed. So tonight, I invite you to play. Take one of these methods and try it. Experiment without fear. Ask yourself, what happens if I give my hair a little bend? What happens if I let it move instead of forcing it flat? You may be surprised at how something so small can ripple into how you feel all day long. Texture, at its heart, is not about pretending you have more hair than you do. It is about celebrating what you have and giving it the dimension it deserves. When you allow your hair to carry movement, you give it back its story, its personality, and its presence, and that is always worth embracing. Step 5. Lighten up on products. Let me ask you something. Have you ever styled your hair, stepped back from the mirror, and felt like it looked smaller, flatter, or almost sticky, even though you spent time carefully applying product? If so, you are not alone. One of the easiest mistakes women with thin hair make is believing that more product equals more volume. It feels logical, doesn't it? You want lift, so you add mousse. You want shine, so you add oil. You want staying power, so you add spray. Yet thin hair has a delicate balance. Instead of creating fullness, too much product presses it down, leaving it limp and lifeless. Why does this happen? Thin hair strands are finer in diameter and fewer in number. That means they simply cannot hold heavy coatings without collapsing. Picture a silk blouse. It is beautiful but also delicate. If you drape a heavy coat over it, the blouse loses all its natural flow. The same is true with hair. When weighed down by oils, thick creams, or layers of styling sprays, it loses its ability to lift and move. So what is the golden rule? It is very simple. If you can feel it in your hair, you probably used too much. Lightness is the secret to freedom. A touch, not a handful. A whisper, not a shout. Products should enhance your hair, not announce themselves every time you move your head. Let me share a story. Margaret, a 64-year-old teacher, told me she used to rely on heavy argan oil to fight frizz and make her hair look sleek. She would smooth it in morning and night, hoping for shine, but what she got instead was hair that clung to her head and seemed even thinner. One day, her granddaughter said gently, "Grandma, your hair looks wet." That was the moment Margaret decided to let go of the oils and try something lighter. She switched to a small amount of volumizing mousse at the roots and a dry texture spray on the ends. Within a week, she said she felt like she had her hair back. People noticed too. A colleague even asked if she had gotten a haircut. She hadn't. She had simply lightened up. So, what should you reach for instead? Think of products that are almost invisible in your hand. Lightweight mousse gives structure without weight. A fine mist of texture spray adds grip and movement without stiffness. And dry shampoo, often underestimated, does more than absorb oil. It adds body between washes, reviving hair that might otherwise fall flat. Notice that none of these require heavy layering. In fact, less is more. Here is a little experiment you might try. The next time you style your hair, use half the amount of product you normally would. See how it feels. You might be surprised at how freeing it is to run your fingers through your hair without resistance. Does it move more easily? Does it lift more at the crown? Chances are the answer will be yes. There is also an emotional side to this. Carrying less product feels symbolic. It is like putting down a heavy bag you did not realize you were holding. Many women tell me they feel lighter, more natural, and more like themselves when they stop coating their hair in layers of products. Thin hair has its own delicate beauty, and when you let it breathe, it shines through. So, Tonight, as you prepare for tomorrow, look at your shelf of products with fresh eyes. Ask yourself, which of these truly serves my hair, and which are weighing me down? You do not need a dozen bottles to look your best. You need a few trusted allies that work in harmony with your hair's nature. Thin hair does not want to be covered up. It wants to be lifted, encouraged, and celebrated. And often, that begins not by adding more, but by choosing less. Step 6. The 30-second confidence boost. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever looked at a photo of yourself? Maybe one taken at a family gathering or a special event, and the first thing your eyes landed on was not your smile, not the warmth in your eyes, but the part in your hair that seemed wider than it used to be? It can be startling, even discouraging. You may wonder, how did I not notice this before? Why does it look so obvious on camera when in the mirror it seems smaller? This is where one of the simplest, quickest tools steps in. Root powders and scalp shading products are like makeup for your scalp. They are not permanent, they are not dramatic, but they are powerful. In less than half a minute, they can shift the way your hair looks by filling in the spaces where light reflects off thinner areas. Imagine the way eyeliner makes eyes stand out, or the way a touch of blush brings life to your cheeks. That is exactly what root powder does for your hairline. The science is actually quite straightforward. Our scalp has a different color and texture than our strands. When thinning happens, more scalp shows through, and because it reflects light, it exaggerates the appearance of sparse hair. By using a tinted powder or spray that matches your hair color, you reduce that contrast. The eye sees a continuous surface instead of breaks. Suddenly, the part looks narrower, the crown fuller, the frame of your face more balanced. Let me share a story. Linda, age 61, told me she dreaded family photos. She would position herself carefully in the back, or tilt her head down just enough to disguise her part. Then, on her granddaughter's birthday, she tried a soft brown root powder at the crown before heading out. Later that evening, she looked at the photos and gasped. For the first time in years, she said, I saw myself. Not my hair. Me. She printed one of those photos and taped it to her mirror, not out of vanity, but as a reminder that small tools can restore big confidence. Now, you might ask, is it noticeable? Will people know I am wearing something in my hair? The answer is almost always no. These products are designed to blend seamlessly, and most are water-resistant, yet wash out easily with shampoo. In fact, people will not notice the product. They will simply notice you look rested, vibrant, and confident. What I love most about this step is the emotional side. It is not about pretending to have 20-year-old hair. It is about owning the hair you have and using simple, smart tools to support it. Think of it this way. Do you stop wearing lipstick because your lips are not the same as they were at 30? Of course not. You adapt the shade, you find a formula that flatters, and you celebrate your beauty. Root powder is the same idea. It is not deception, it is celebration. So, here is my gentle encouragement. Try it once. Pick a small, compact, or spray in your color, and tomorrow morning, dust a little along your part or at the crown. Then take a photo, even if it is just a selfie at home. Look at the difference with your own eyes. Sometimes seeing it in a picture reveals the power more clearly than a glance in the mirror. And let me remind you, this is not about hiding your age. It is about shining as you are. Every line on your face, every silver strand, carries your story. But if filling in your part makes you step into a room with your head a little higher, if it lets you enjoy photos without self-consciousness, then it is worth those 30 seconds. Confidence is never shallow. It is the light that lets the world see who you truly are. So here we are, standing at the end of our journey together, and I hope you feel lighter, more hopeful, and maybe even a little excited to experiment. We began by talking about the quiet struggle of thin hair, the way it can make you second-guess yourself when you catch your reflection or see a photo you did not expect. And now, we have walked through 6 powerful yet gentle steps to help you rediscover confidence in your own beauty. First, we looked at the root lift. Such a simple change, and yet it can turn flat hair into something with energy and movement. Then we talked about choosing the right cut, a reminder that hair does not have to be short to look full, it simply needs the right shape. We moved on to rethinking your part, a tiny adjustment with a surprisingly big effect, followed by adding texture, because dimension always breathes life into strands. We lightened up on heavy products, freeing the hair to move and shine naturally. And finally, we discovered the 30-second confidence boost, a little powder or spray that can instantly transform how you feel when you look in the mirror or see yourself in photos. Taken together, these steps are not about chasing youth or pretending to be someone you are not. They are about working with the hair you have today, not wishing for the hair you had yesterday. Thin hair is not a flaw. It is simply a texture that asks for a different kind of care. And when you honor it with the right tools and habits, it rewards you by framing your face beautifully, by reminding you that elegance is never measured by thickness alone. So let me ask you one last question. Which of these steps will you try first? Will you flip your head upside down tomorrow morning for that root lift? Will you experiment with a side part tonight before bed? Or maybe you will finally treat yourself to that new cut you have been considering. Whatever you choose, remember this: small changes build into a powerful sense of self. If this video gave you even one idea or a bit of encouragement, I would love for you to share it in the comments. Tell me your age, where you are watching from, or a story about your hair journey. And if you want more conversations like this, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next gathering. Thank you, truly, for being here. It is a gift to share this space with women who understand that beauty after 50 is not about fitting in, but about standing tall with quiet confidence. Until we meet again, carry this with you. Every season of life holds beauty, and this is yours. Hello there. If you enjoy gentle conversations, thoughtful reflections, and inspiring ideas about beauty, elegance, and growing into yourself after 50, then our community posts are just for you. This is where we share quiet thoughts, helpful tips, and simple reminders that you are not alone on this journey. Feel free to join the discussion, leave a comment, or simply read along and take what speaks to your heart. We're always happy to have you here.